Thank you for this opportunity, everyone. We've already heard a lot of great things about how people have adapted to the online atmosphere that we were all thrown into. I'm just going to talk about a couple of highlights from a lab and a lecture course that I taught using Zoom. So I'm going to start with the first in terms of my lab course. So I was given the first year engineering lab course at UBC Vancouver to teach, which has about 900 students, split in 3 sections, including an evening section. That was my challenge. This was a first truly virtual lab experience for me and for the students. More difficult for them because this was their first chemistry lab experience at a university level. So them not having stepped foot on the campus at all, this was particularly difficult on them. But this is not really a COVID-related situation because the 2 departments, engineering and science, chemistry, had decided this is now a permanent stat. So whatever virtual lab experience they're going through will actually be an ongoing practice. So the timing of it just coincided with what everybody else was going through, which is great because now there's a lot more resources that I hope to accommodate into the course. They learned to do online submissions in different modes. And we had to make sure that the lab material was still a little bit integrated with the lecture material, like just keep going with it, with the pace of the lecture. And so that's why we used all these different modes of submission as well as administration on it. Now, the great thing about this, the advantage of it, was that I did a synchronous pre-lab talk to all the students. So for example, the Monday afternoon section had around 450 students. I could Zoom talk to all of them and answer all of their questions simultaneously, which is great because in the lab, I don't actually get to talk to every single student with that scale of the work we have in there. They're mostly interacting with the teaching assistants and the technicians, and then I get to speak to a handful of them. So this gives them direct access to me. And then we followed that up with a live question and answer session even once the synchronous lecture and the synchronous discussion was finished. Me and the teaching assistants, we just stayed online on the learning management system and kept answering questions that were thrown on the discussion board, which were basically common to everybody because we gave them an in-lab activity which was to be completed in the time of the lab session. So we made sure we are live, they are live, and they get their answers and feedbacks, and their in-lab activity is submitted within the timeline of the lab session, plus half an hour here and there for internet issues. Other than that, for their post-lab submissions or pre-lab submissions, we had split the times of the teaching assistants and the instructor to be online at certain times during the week on different days so that students had access to help and resources whenever they wanted. And we tried to vary them because of the time zones as well. Hopefully with the in-person this year, we won't have to do different time zones, but keeping it online, will make it very flexible and easy for students if they want to do it at 9 o'clock in the night. Same goes with the teaching assistants as well. So that's an advantage of being online, as I would like to look at it. For the lecture course, it was second year chemical engineers. So this was a lecture course, which is a customized introduction to inorganic chemistry. So just some basics of inorganic chemistry, like the nomenclature and the structures and all that, followed by applications that are relevant to chemical engineers specifically. So I have been teaching this course for almost a decade, and the students have been asking for a textbook for this. And I have spoken to lots of publishers, even in the last year or so, and before that, to come up with options, because that kind of customized book doesn't exist. So I finally, this mode of adaptation of online teaching gave us a method that I decided that I'm going to use OER resources to use a textbook that is more of a background. So students always said, "Well, we did redox chemistry all the way last year. Do you know how long ago that was?" I tried to kindly remind them, a little bit sooner than it was for me. It was quite a long time back for me. But still, every student is at a different level. They need some more extra review questions, and this book provides that resource. I don't have to reinvent the wheel by talking about what redox chemistry is, how you set up an e-cell, and then I spend my lecture time talking specifically about a rechargeable battery cell or a solar cell or whatever is relevant in terms of a specific application. And the background stuff they do on their own using this book, which also gives them some practice questions. The advantage of doing it online on Zoom was it was synchronous lectures, but they were recorded automatically. So in previous years, I have actually taken certain portions of the lectures and recorded a pencast or a podcast and posted it online, because I just thought it was essential for students to be able to revisit and see how I work through a structure, what parts I consider when I'm considering what kind of isomer it is, what geometry it is, what charge it is, what oxidation state it is. So I would talk them through it and use that as an example, and it's easy to forget after a while. So this actually gave me a mood that I didn't have to redo that work. I do that for 2 or 3 topics in the class, and this now gave them access to all the lectures later on as well. The other great thing was the anonymous chatting going on the side, and I had the help of a teaching assistant answering the questions while I was lecturing. I tried to jump in when I could, but the side-by-side monitoring helped keep the pace of the lecture and keep things interactive and interesting. So in terms of measuring student
Vishakha,
yes.
Your time is up.
Okay, so I'll just quickly summarize. In terms of measuring student success, we were able to use online softwares and videos and pictures and data. And in terms of the lecture, we were able to use the chatting as well as the development that was going on in real time. The disadvantages, of course, is the internet connectivity and the missing of the in-lab interaction. And with that, I would just like to end with thanking the team who helped me develop the course material and all the grant agencies and you guys for your time. Thank you.